they have you sitting there for 8 hours a day with no reward, quote unquote, except for education. Well, you graduate and then you go into the workforce and you sit there for 8 hours a day, like you said, with professors and that. They're often teaching theory. They're teaching theoretically what things are supposed to mean. However, they've not, there's a hip hop term, gotten it from the mud. You know what I mean? They've not gotten their hands dirty where they've actually done it.
Hey, Ooch, how are you? Welcome to Keep What You Earn.
Pleasure to be here, Shannon.
Awesome. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Wow. I mean, just regards to me, I've been a DJ for 18 years. That's something that somebody said,
Awesome.
DJ Ooch, is your first name DJ? It's like, no, been a DJ for 18 years, done it all around the world. And in the pandemic, gosh, everything shut down. And when everything shut down, where did you go as a DJ if you wanted to work? Where did you go as a bartender if you wanted to work, or a server, or even a general manager of a big hotel or big restaurant? You went home, you stayed home, you didn't do much of anything. And my friends freaked out for me, Shannon. They were wondering, man, what are you going to do about work? You're seeing what's happening out there. And in the beginning of the pandemic, when everything happened, I said, I don't have to work. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, I've been buying Bitcoin since it was $5,000, and I've been in the stock market for some time. I've been telling you guys this. And they said, oh, yeah, that's right. And then I just went traveling. I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming for the first time. I found a cabin in the woods in the beginning of the pandemic to kind of ride it out. And then I went to Phoenix for a friend's birthday. I went to San Diego for the beach, Atlanta to see my sister and her husband, New York for a month for my birthday in late summer. And after 6 months of traveling, Shannon, my friend said, you know what, I'm going to have what you're having. What are you doing with that Bitcoin thing and that stock market thing? So I started teaching my friends one-on-one, and then they told their friends, and now we have a big, beautiful academy of 55 plus students at Your Stocks Now Academy, and we're teaching regular working people how to master the market so you can make more money. And I've had people sometimes push back and say, how are you teaching them how to master the markets? Even Warren Buffett doesn't have it mastered. And I say, most people, and you know this, Shannon,
Yeah.
I'm sure most of your listeners and viewers know this as well. Ultimately, most people have no idea what they're doing when it comes to the markets. They're guessing. They have no idea. They're going like this, like eyes closed, picking something out of thin air and hoping that it works. And what we do at our academy is show you, okay, this is how you pick individual stocks. This is how you pick individual cryptos. This is how you know when to get in. This is how you know when to get out. And when you have that level of knowledge, Shannon, ultimately you are master to the novice, because somebody who's looking at it blindly is saying, oh, how did you know when to buy it? How did you know the price was going to drop? How did you know the price was going to go up to this point and stop? How did you know those things? It's the stuff that Wall Street has known for a long time, and I'm happy and proud and honored that God has blessed me with the ability to teach this to people.
I absolutely love that. I would equate that to we're to teach you how to play darts instead of pin the tail on the donkey.
Exactly.
We don't want you to be blindfolded. We can take that blindfold off, and no
Yes.
one can master and guarantee a bullseye every time,
Sure.
but you can play more strategically and with intention. So I love that you're teaching that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned too that, you were probably an early adopter, early believer in the whole Bitcoin thing, right? But how did you get into that? Because was it from day one, were you a believer in it from day one, or like, talk to me about how you kind of came upon having a passion for investing in Bitcoin and crypto? Because I think I've heard the story before and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun and funny story. It's fun and funny now. It
Yeah.
wasn't fun or funny back then so much. So back in 2015, I was looking for new ways to bridge myself outside of the DJ world. I bought my first house in 2011, and it was a rental property. However, I knew I could be doing something more. So I was starting to look into the markets, and lo and behold, I was on Expedia buying a flight, and at the checkout, it said Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Bitcoin. And I said, Bitcoin, is that a credit card? Is that money? I never heard of it before. So I started to Google it, fell down the rabbit hole, and I found Bitcoin was $215. And I looked a little bit deeper and I found Litecoin, which is silver to Bitcoin's gold, at $2. And after about an hour of looking through it, Shannon, what I decided was, you know what? I don't know much about finance. Let me ask my expert friends on Wall Street what they think about this Bitcoin. So I rung them up. I said, hey, what do you think about this Bitcoin thing? Again, it's $215 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Their advice for me then was, oh, it's fake money. Don't even worry about it. Which is easily the worst financial advice I've ever gotten in my life up until this point. So I listened because I didn't know. Just like those people who guess their way through the markets, have no idea, and they don't get a mentor. In fact, in my first book, 10 Ways for You to Win the Stock Market, chapter 1 is get a mentor. It's super, super important to me because ultimately guessing your way through things allows you to say, Bitcoin, $215? I don't know what that is. My friends say it's garbage. Okay. Fast forward to 2017. I moved to Las Vegas, and it was a very tough transition for me. After a really tough 2017 of not finding the work that I wanted, I said, whatever happened to that Bitcoin thing? 2.5 years, I didn't even think about it, Shannon. And I said, maybe it's $150 now. Maybe it's $300. I have no idea. Maybe it's still $215. It was $5,000. And I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I wanted to laugh, cry, and throw up at the same time, actually. It was, I still feel it in my body when I remember what that was like. I was on a brown couch in LA, sleeping on a couch actually in LA. I was broke. I was super broke at that point. The transition again was rough because I wasn't finding work. 2020, I did that already. It's called 2017. I didn't have work on a regular basis as a DJ for many months. And that's because in Las Vegas, they don't care about what you know. They care about who you know. I up and moved to Vegas not knowing anyone. And it was a tough transition. So finding Bitcoin at $5,000 now, broke on a couch, because remember, in 2015, 2.5 years prior, I had all the money in the world. Bitcoin, $215. I buy none of it because of horrible financial advice. Now fast forward to 2017, 2.5 years later, I got no money. And this thing's $5,000. This thing that I saw at $215. So I called up my expert friends again. I said, hey, funny thing, this Bitcoin thing, it's $5,000 now. And what they told me, shocking. They told me, oh yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, really.
Well, I wonder what they would say now.
Well, now they love it. Now they love it.
it.
Because with the little money that I did have, I had like $100. I said, I'm buying this immediately. And it was a huge lesson in trusting my intuition. There's ever been a time where you've not trusted your intuition?
Oh, absolutely. And I've taken bad advice because the folks who gave me advice had a vested interest in, keeping things safe, known, predictable. And I think it's a risk thing because I think if you had asked me as someone in finance and Wall Street in that year, I used to work near Wall Street in 2015 or so, or before that. And I would have said, I probably wouldn't worried about it. Why? Because if I told you go buy it and you lost money or something happened, I would never want to have that on my conscience either. But I think that, people are doling out advice based on what they would do, but not with the facts and not really knowing what they're saying.
Sure. And that goes to, again, my first book, 10 Ways for You to Win the Stock Market, which is #1 bestseller on Amazon. Chapter 5 is question everything. Question everything is chapter 5. And the reason why is that when you get into groupthink, when you get into, oh, I know, you end up missing out on huge opportunities. 100 years ago, let's say 150 years ago, you had people who were saying, you want to put a tin can in the air and have it fly? Are you nuts? And now we travel the world through air travel. You want to take a covered wagon and make it mechanical so it moves on its own? Everyone has horses. Why do you care? And now we all have vehicles. This is what it is ultimately, is that things that are huge shifts in society, things that are paradigm shifts at that, you're not able to quantify them in 2015. Of course, now my friends on Wall Street love Bitcoin, and most, if not all, of the major banking institutions have trading houses specifically for cryptocurrency. With that said, once I found it at 5 grand, I said, I'm going to worry about this for the rest of my life. And that's what dove me into Bitcoin and crypto. And then from there, I started to look into the stock market as well because I saw it was less volatile. And from what I learned from my mentors, because I picked up a mentor about 2 months into crypto, I said, I really want to know when the price is going to go up and down. And I'm seeing people who are saying that they know how to do this. So I found somebody on Twitter, to be honest, and I never messaged them in my, I mean, just DMs. I never spoke to them ever in my
Mm-hmm.
life. However, they had some good trainings. It was not, I mean, in our academy, we do a lot more. There's a lot of
Right.
personal touches. You know, our success manager's calling you a couple of times a week. So it's way different. I'm a product of the product, so to speak. So I love to be able to have that personal touch. And with that said, once I learned like, oh, okay, this is how it works. Well, I looked at the stock market, said, well, this is a lot less volatile. Let me take a look into this. 2018 ended up being a great year for a lot of stocks, especially early on. And then 2019 obviously was a great, even greater year because the Fed took their foot off the gas in terms of in terms of raising interest rates. At that, Mr. Powell decided, you know what, I'm going to back off because 2018 was such a last quarter, the fourth quarter was really rough, and that was a great dip buy. 2019 and being what it was, and I was like, hey, this is amazing, and that set me up for success because once 2020 came by, I was like, oh, I'm good. I don't have to work.
That's awesome. What were some of the most surprising things that you learned when you got into investing in crypto and into this kind of new area?
Wow. I mean, so many things. The prospect of making money while I sleep, the prospect of making money on my phone, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do a walkthrough of a house. I don't have to talk with a uh, a contractor or a plumber or a GC or a roofer. I don't have to speak with the city about appraisal. See, I was deep into real estate at the time, and I still think real estate is a great investment vehicle. However, there are a lot more moving parts to real estate and real estate investing than there are literally buying stuff off of your phone. And just doing that level of research and being able to do that was so empowering. When you find something that feels like the key to everything you've been looking for, it's a really gratifying feeling. And for me, that's what the financial markets were. Just the ease of use and the ability to learn and be able to do it from my bed. Sign me up.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I think that we all learn from mistakes and mistakes of others. So it's like you said, getting a mentor and knowing, what you might be in for or what has happened to other people, listening to stories like this is so impactful as you're trying to learn how to master the market, as you put it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Getting a
Mhm.
mentor for me is first and foremost because I actually was just on a call a little earlier with someone who said, well, let's say I have $1,000. What can I make? And I said, well, what do you know?
I like that.
Yeah, because I look, there's a friend of mine, hard headed. When I started the academy, it wasn't even an academy. I was just teaching my friends one on one. I posted great time to know the markets in October 2020. I trade options, had an amazing month in options, and I posted that. And my friends came out of the woodwork, like 100 different comments and DMs saying, teach me, teach me, teach me. I want to know. And I was like, whoa, I don't even know this many people had this much interest. And from that, it was just like, well, I mean, we can go a lot of different ways with this. And the fact that so many people want to know this stuff, it's super gratifying, especially because they don't teach this stuff in school.
No, they don't. And they don't want to.
Right. And for those who are in the financial services space, I got love for my fellow, educators and people in arms helping people because that's what it's about for me. Someone once asked me recently at a meeting, they said, what is it for you? Is it about money? Is it about music? What really drives you? And I said, it's people. People. I actually got emotional when I said it
Yeah.
because it just came. That's the true answer. Like I love people, and being able to help people discover their dreams and aspirations for me is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And that's what we're all about on this show too, is we always say showing up with the heart of a teacher and whatever it is you're doing with the mission of leaving something better than you found it and making an impact on people in the process. And that's the paramount thing. And what's interesting, you mentioned this too, that people don't want to, or I should say the system and the institutions don't want you to know this stuff all the time. It's true. They don't necessarily want you to know how to make a ton of money without becoming a W-2 employee, saving your money, getting your 401k, and going through the machine. In my opinion, this is how I feel about it. But also, as someone who was educated in finances, investments, and worked on Wall Street and worked in mutual funds and hedge funds, the professors, the schools, the college, the degrees in this stuff also don't teach you a whole ton about how it really works. We learn the concepts that they want to teach you so that you know the science of it. We understand the science of it, but there's so much more to it than just the science, which is why I think it's interesting how your Wall Street friends reacted, because that's how we were programmed to answer that question.
Yes. And to your point earlier,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to lead someone to something that is not in your purview,
Right.
which again goes to chapter 5 of my book, question everything, right? So for me, when someone comes to me and says, hey, what do you think about this? If I don't know anything about it, I'll do a little bit of research. I'll say, let me get back to you on that. I'll do a little bit of research. I'll say, well, this is what I'm seeing in regards to it. And it looks interesting because of X, Y, and Z. However, A, B, and C also has me think, is this the best strategy? Is this the best way to go? Is this the way forward? And I always present things in that direction because I think for me I don't think I know, for me as someone who trades the markets, for me who's constantly looking at the markets and saying, which way can this go? If I'm so far in X, Y, and Z, or so far in A, B, and C, I'm missing the rest of the alphabet.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you get confirmation bias. We're human beings, right? We're psychological creatures, and that is just how we are. And when you want to see a red car, you're going to see a red car. When you want to see a pink elephant, you're going to see a pink elephant. And with that, you might miss the blue car, you might miss the gray elephant, and that. So, in regards to how the system is set up, there's a speaker once, his name's Dr. Raphael Spiller, that I saw a couple times when I got into the Forex market when I was learning about that. Amazing speaker and amazing trader at that. And he said in a speech once, he's actually said in a couple of speeches, he says, the education system is built to give us information to keep us in formation, right? So, they have you sitting there for 8 hours a day with no reward, quote unquote, except for education. Well, you graduate and then you go into the workforce and you sit there for 8 hours a day, ring the bell, it's just kind of how it works, unfortunately. Oh, well, I won't even say unfortunately, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Good or bad, it just depends on what your opinion is of what you want. It's just math. I was talking with one of our salespeople this morning about that. No judgment. It just is what it is. Is it what I want for me and necessarily for my children? No. While there are others who they swear by it. So it just depends on what you want. Ultimately, I do know that, like you said, with professors and that, they're often teaching theory. They're teaching theoretically what things are supposed to mean. However, they've not, it's a hip hop term, gotten it from the mud. You know what I mean? They've not gotten their hands dirty where they've actually done it. And that is super, super important. Whoever your mentor is, just make sure that they have a track record, that they've done things, and that they have your best interest at heart and they're not just selling you information.
So I'm going to ask you to, for a second, act as a bit of a mentor to our listeners right now. And can you help unpack the simplest part of it? Can you just help explain to our listeners a bit about, let's say someone listening right now says, okay, I don't have any Bitcoin. I don't really know what I'm doing. I've been scared because I just don't know what to do. And I don't know what actions to take. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, action number 1, get a mentor for sure.
Yeah.
And then, after you do that and they kind of show you what the process is, you can add in this information. So, find great projects. Find great projects that actually have a use case, a track record, a great team as well. And, fall in love with it. Don't make it just something that, oh yeah, I bought this and it's just kind of sitting there. You can if you want to. And there's nothing wrong with that. My pastor asked me recently, hey, what do you think about this Ethereum? I said, good, I like it. And he picks them up. And that's the end of that
Yep.
until it's $10 gajillion, and then that'll be that, right?
Right.
You can approach it that way, absolutely. However, you're, in my opinion, missing a whole huge opportunity, because with blockchain, it's revolutionary technology that's fundamentally changing how the world works. It's fundamentally changing how the web works. Web 3 is not only in development, it's being brought out now. Web 1 was, back in the day, AOL, America Online, and you'd log onto the internet,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you'd go onto the internet and you'd read websites and what they had to say. So that was the web in read-only mode. Web 2, the advent of MySpace, social media, Facebook, YouTube, and also the advent of mobile. That was instead of these websites creating all the content, you and I, Shannon, started creating the content. Your listeners started creating the content. And these companies, whether it be Facebook, Google, Twitter, and others, TikTok and others, Wikipedia and others, they're just allowing us to do all the work, and they're monetizing it. So that was when the web turned into read and write. And now we're in this phase of Web 3 that we're moving into, where it's ownership of the internet. And that's coming largely through blockchain technology, where with NFTs, you're able to own parts of the internet. The internet and where it's going, it's turning into a situation where you're not only creating the content, you're owning the content and you're monetizing the content. And that's happening through blockchain. With that said, jumping into cryptocurrency or jumping into Bitcoin or Ethereum and Solana and Terra and all these different blockchains, I would dive in headfirst into learning as much about it as possible, with a mentor, of course, guiding you, so that you can know, how can this benefit me in the long term? Because there are so many benefits for you long term. I recently did a keynote speech about this here in Vegas. I actually have another keynote in New York coming up. And when I speak about this stuff, I say this thing is huge. It's wide open. When it comes to soda, Coca-Cola owns the space. When it comes to sneakers, Nike owns the space. When it comes to phones, iPhone and Android own the space. No one owns the space when it comes to cryptocurrency. No one owns the space when it comes to NFTs. No one owns the space when it comes to blockchain. When I say that, I mean, you say blockchain, what's the next thing you think of? You think of crypto. Maybe you think of Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin is not a person. Bitcoin is money. It's a cryptocurrency. There's no being, person, company that owns the space, which means it's wide open for you and me and for all of your listeners. So dive right in and learn as much as you can.
I love it. And you mentioned, when you first answered, it was finding projects that appeal to you. What do you mean by projects?
Yeah, great question. So each blockchain, I look at like the dirt, right? So blockchain is the dirt. And when you have these different applications, DApps, DeFi, they build on top of these blockchains, right? So when you have dirt, you build a house on top of the dirt.
Right.
And what these blockchains are, they're a platform for so many different things to happen. So so Bitcoin specifically, there's a Bitcoin blockchain, and it's considered impenetrable to a large degree because of its success for the last 15 years at the time of recording this with you. Ethereum, being the second biggest blockchain in the world by market cap, is a huge platform for all of these different NFTs that you're seeing, all these different metaverses that you're seeing. Like, there are different web portals that are being built on the Ethereum blockchain. There's also a myriad of different cryptocurrencies that are called ERC20 tokens. They're built on the Ethereum blockchain. So what they're doing is they're taking this dirt that Ethereum has, they have plenty of dirt, and they're saying, okay, let's build on top of this. A great example from the digital space is the App Store, right? So you had the App Store for the iPhone. Well, what happened when the App Store came out? Everybody created an app. Everybody said, oh, I'm gonna make an app for this, I'm gonna make an app for this, and we'll be rich. That was the prevailing wisdom then.
Right.
And what that was Apple created a platform for developers to create apps. And to a large degree, some of those apps did make people rich. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and otherwise. All these are just basically web applications that were built on top of iOS. And that is what Ethereum is essentially, that's what these different blockchains are. They're basically platforms for things to
Mm,
get built on top of. So when you're looking for a great project, you're looking for a blockchain that has amazing developers involved with them. You're looking for a blockchain that has history. You're looking for a blockchain with a great community, looking for these different things so that because anyone, anyone can create a blockchain. That doesn't mean that's necessarily going to stand the test of time or be worth its weight in gold in another 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So Ethereum came out 2011, and now we're seeing it basically rule the roost. Back then, no one cared. Yes, it was a thing. However, it wasn't the Ethereum that we know today. So to
yeah.
make sure that whatever you're investing in or whatever you're putting your time into is going to benefit at those returns, you want to make sure that they have a great project. Same thing with the cryptocurrency that's building on Ethereum, or a cryptocurrency building on its own blockchain, or an NFT project that's being built on whichever blockchain. Just make sure that the project, it has legs, and it's not just great looking pictures, a great looking white paper, and that. Take a deeper dive into who's involved, and that'll give you a better idea as to if it's worth your time.
I love that advice. Yeah. And I think that a lot of folks are hesitant to get involved because it is overwhelming. It's a lot of new information and a lot of invested time on top of money. So I think number one, again, first and foremost, your advice about mentorship is paramount,
Yeah.
but it's also really digging in and getting to know, because at the end of the day, your decisions are based on your degree of wanting to seek out the knowledge. So it's really important to invest that
And
time in.
amen to that. And that's what we
Mhm.
provide our students at our academy is, we have students who one is a Broadway show producer.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. She's done quite well for herself. However, she really wants to know about NFTs specifically and how to bring NFTs into her space. And why she's with us is to learn that, and also to basically say, hey, what's happening right now in the space? Because I've got a million things going on. I'm on the phone with producers and agents, and I got a million things happening. What's happening right now? We're able to give her that deep dive and make it bite-sized for her so it's easy for her, and then she can go along. That's the beauty of what you get
Mhm.
with us at our academy. I'm sure if you have a mentor out there that does something similar, to be able to get something equal.
Yeah, and what I love about what you guys do too is it's not just broad-based education and advice on crypto and like what it is and conceptual, but you're adding context, right? You're adding, in your unique space, this is how it could be utilized. And I think that's the nuance that adds a whole nother layer, because we've seen a lot of people think NFTs are pictures of monkeys, but it's not. It's it's much more complicated than that. And I love that you mentioned Broadway, because there's all this discussion around that, the next wave of NFTs, because if you listen to Gary Vee, you hear about this all the time,
Yep.
that the next, there's gonna be NFTs. It's like every ticket to a concert is gonna be an NFT. Every, access pass into something. I could see that happening. I mean, remember when we had physical tickets and it was absurd to think that your phone could get you a plane ticket, or your phone had this, like, look where we are now. I go, guys, this is just the next QR code, right?
Basically, yes. And the beauty of it is that you can own it and sell it to someone else. And
Mm-hmm.
whoever created it originally, when you sell it to someone else, they'll get paid a royalty. As a musician, if I make a CD, because I'm a musician, if I make a CD and I sell it to you, Shannon, for $10, and you say, oh my gosh, this is the best CD ever, and you're able to sell it to the next person for $100,
Mm-hmm.
as Mr. Musician who made this amazing CD, I get nothing. Nothing. You got $100. I got that $10 from you. However, with an NFT, I sell you an NFT of a music collection of mine, and I sell it to you, let's say, for $10. And there's a 20% royalty built in. Well, every time you sell that music collection, or actually you sell to someone, they sell to the next person, the next person. And it doesn't have to stay at that static $10. You can sell to the next
Mm-hmm.
person for $100. Well, I made $20 off of it because of that 20% royalty. It is fascinating, amazing, and it is groundbreaking what NFTs are doing and what they can do and what they will do in Web3 and in the future. I just think right now, most people think it's pictures of apes or JPEGs. They're not
Right.
really fully understanding, because they're looking at it like, you want to put a tin can in the sky? And futurists like myself and those who are in the space who understand the technology and know where this is all going, It's just
Mhm.
Internet 1991. There's a great clip of David Letterman, who's a TV host or former TV host, late night TV host here in America. And Mr. Letterman had on Mr. Bill Gates in 1995 on his show. And he was asking him in this very famous clip, oh, what's this internet thing I keep hearing about? Again, 1995, the year, right?
Mhm.
And back then the internet was nascent. It had been around for 4 years and not even everyone had a personal computer.
Right.
So Mr. Gates said, oh yeah, well, you'll be able to do this and that. And Letterman says, well, I hear that I'll be able to watch recorded content, like watch a baseball game after the fact. Mr. Gates says, yes, you will. And Mr. Letterman says, well, isn't that what we have videotape for? And the whole audience starts laughing, right? And I think he also said something along the lines of you'll be able to listen to a baseball game, um, somewhere in the world. And he said, isn't that what the radio's for? And
Mm.
it just
Yeah.
completely misses the point. And mind
Yeah.
you, it's funny because years later, watching that same clip
Sounds
on the
crazy.
internet.
Yeah, exactly. We're watching exactly that. That's meta.
Yeah, yes, very,
That's
very.
literally meta. But
Yeah.
then I actually had this conversation with my grandma the other day. She said I wanted to finish Breaking Bad that was on reruns. And unfortunately I had to go to bed. I couldn't finish the show. And I was like, Nana, why? Like it's so funny because it sounds so insane to us now to think you wait until the show comes on at 8 o'clock and you have to watch it then.
Yeah.
What world did you live in, millennials and back? Like what is this? And it just goes to show you how fast things change and paradigm shift. And I think that this is going to be one of those things where it sounds absurd, but coming from, and I think actually the millennial generation is uniquely positioned here because we are the kids of boomers who grew up having to memorize cell phone or memorize phone numbers, right?
Yes.
Had a list on the wall of all the phone numbers of the key people in your life. And you remembered maybe two or three phone numbers, including your parents. And and you maybe had a beeper, maybe if you were lucky when middle school. And then now we can't even, I just it's crazy how I will have a panic attack if my phone isn't within 5 feet of me. And the fact that 20 years span, 20 or so years, yeah, that has changed is absurd. And I think 20 years is not that long. Buckle up for the next 20.
Oh, it's going to get real interesting, especially with Mr.
Yeah.
Musk and Neuralink and everything that, I mean, to be
Hmm.
able to, will you even need a phone to know the numbers or will they just all be a chip in your brain? It's very interesting to see where
Yeah.
everything is going. I think the idea is, and what your listeners want to know, and of course they understand this because they're
Yes.
listening to you, is just to embrace change.
Yeah.
Not all change is going to feel good or even be good for you. I'll just be honest. So it's not a good, bad thing. The idea is change is the only constant in the world, period.
Mm.
Things change, life changes, technology changes, the clock constantly goes, sands in the hourglass constantly fall. So the idea is to say, okay, this is the change. How am I best positioned in this change? This is
Right.
the change. How do I win in this change? This is the change. How do I provide for my family in this change? This is the change. How do I help create more change so that it helps benefit humanity on the whole? Rather than saying, oh, it shouldn't be this way, or oh, I don't want this to happen, embrace it, understand it, accept it, and then move forward. Because constantly it's kind of like, have you ever seen a woman or a gentleman with a 30 or 40-year-old haircut? Like you can tell the hairstyle is from a bygone era.
Yes.
Yes. So these are people who did not embrace change.
I
They
have not
said,
seen I would love to see like a mushroom cut from like the old like my middle school days, like that blunt mushroom cut on like a grown man. That would make me very happy.
I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would be quite the sight. And I
Right.
definitely have seen, we mentioned boomers. I've
Mm.
definitely seen boomers who you can easily see, okay, so they decided to stop changing their hair in 1985.
Yeah.
That's when it ended for them. And of course, that's a funny meme version of what we're talking about. However,
Right.
people do it all day, every day. They say, "Oh no, I don't want things to change," and they grow resistant and they hold on to a bygone era that does not exist, and they miss they miss the mark on what actually is happening right now. And they miss opportunities more important than anything. Do not get so caught up in what is supposed to be that you miss the boat on what will be. And again,
Mm.
if you want different change, well, accept the change that has happened, because that's the only way you can make real change happen. Because otherwise, you're attempting to change something that doesn't exist anymore because it changed.
I love that this is really a mind-opening conversation rather than just a tactical what Bitcoin is and how that information is available. What I think that people need to be inspired to do is go seek out that information with the desire to embrace such a change going on right now in the world. And that's what's really most important, because there is something shifting. I think we can all kind of feel it, that there is something that's going to change.
Big time. And it always will.
Absolutely. It's constant, right?
Yep.
So I love to wrap up our interviews, Uch, with a couple of rapid fire questions for you. And then I'm dying to find out more about how folks can join your academy. So
Great.
let's start with one quick question here. What is one investment that you can't live without?
Oh my gosh. Gold and silver bars.
I love it.
Love them. Love them.
What did you learn about money that turned out not to be true?
Bitcoin is a waste of, I wouldn't worry about it. It's $215.
That's a dead giveaway. Was there
Yeah.
anything else that you've learned, maybe even growing up or in a past life, before you kind of shifted your paradigm that has changed your mindset around money?
Yeah, paying yourself. That was something I did. I did not grow up in a financially literate household. My parents emigrated from Nigeria, and they were born in Nigeria, met in New York, and then I came along with my 6 siblings. I'm the oldest of 7. So they didn't have the rich dad, poor dad kind of mindset. I mean, my dad was born in 1942 in Nigeria, which basically you could call the 1800s in America. Credit cards and all these different things, they didn't exist, and just a different way of looking at things. So once I did education myself, the self-preservation education that is, and I read the books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and otherwise, I said, oh, I'm supposed to pay myself. Oh. Once I started to do that, it became easy to invest because I had all this extra money because I was actually paying myself. And that's something that some people have a little bit of resistance to. They say, oh man, I don't have enough money, so I'm not able to pay myself. And it's just like, yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you do not pay yourself, you will not have any money. You're always going to have more month than money. So with that, I would say pay yourself at least 10% out of every check, any money that you receive as a profit towards you, any net gain that is, just take it on 10% and just put it into an investment of some sort so that that continues to generate and continues to grow. I mean, it's something in the Bible. I believe it's book of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 14, with the 3 servants, and how the master leaves and he gives the servants his money to take care of my money while I'm gone. The first 2 servants, they invested, get a return. The 3rd servant just put it in the ground because he was too scared to do anything with it, and he gets yelled at. Whoa, there's your lesson. It's as old as time. It's as old as the Bible. Put your money into things that are going to get you a return. Pay yourself every time you get paid.
Love it. And lastly, what makes you feel like a millionaire?
Gosh, well, the Mustang convertible just right downstairs.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I drive a Benz CLA 250, and it's being serviced right now. So they gave me a loaner, and it ended up being this convertible Mustang, and I thank God for that. Like, wow, because I didn't ask for the Mustang. They just knew what I had, and they said, well, this is the fastest, easiest car we can get you right now. I said, I'll take it.
Love it.
So that makes me, and it's red on top of that. I mean, it's just a complete dream car. It's nothing I would ever buy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe I would. However, it's not something, I mean, I would drive a black Benz, people probably think I'm a lawyer, a doctor or something like that, driving around, or in finance. A red Mustang convertible. So that makes me feel like $1 million. It also makes me feel like $1 million when I have just people who are God-fearing and God-loving around me. When I'm at church and I'm able to just give all of my time, energy, hurts, heartbreaks, loves gratitudes to God and, sing it out and put my hands in the air and close my eyes and pray, that I would say it makes me feel like $1 million. It's probably 1 trillion, I feel like, or it's not even quantifiable by a dollar amount because it's something deeper and bigger than anything money can buy.
Perfect. And so tell our listeners more about how they can find out more about the Academy. Does it have a certain open date? Can people join in? Tell us about that.
Yes, people can join in right now. We just launched a new product actually this week at the time of recording this for you, which is so much fun. What you can do is go to yourstocksnow.com, and for free, you could actually join our Facebook group. That's yourstocksnow.com. And when you scroll down, you'll see the link to our free Facebook group. In there, we do lives and we talk about similar topics that we've discussed here. We go deeper into things too. In fact, the video we did recently was 3 winning options trades. And that I got to show you 3 winning options trades that have happened over the last few weeks for us in our academy, and the why. Why did we enter these trades? Why did they work out? One of them actually is still open, and I mean, it's actually opened it this week. So for it to go this fast is amazing. So we share content like that on a regular basis. Also, what cryptos were I to buy if I could never buy crypto again? NFTs explained in 5 minutes. Different videos we'll do all the time. So just yourstocksnow.com is the website. Scroll down, join our free Facebook group, watch a couple of our videos on our website as well when you get a chance. And yeah, we'll welcome you into our academy with open arms.
Love it. And this is perfect for those who have no idea what they're doing, right? This is for like the novices all the way through people who just want to learn more.
Oh, absolutely. There's a student of ours who's actually a friend of mine from going back to the 90s. He knew nothing about the markets, zero, zilch. He was always intimidated by it. He's a personal trainer, and he's always been smart with his money. At least, he knows kind of what to do with it. He's not been a huge splurger. With that said, when he joined with us in the academy, and again, he's not the traditional learner either. He said, dude, I'm going to need a lot of hand-holding because, school-wise for me, it just wasn't the thing, and I don't know if I'll be able to learn. He said, we got you. What he's been able to do now, first off, there's a video that we posted on Instagram, 400% up on one cryptocurrency, just one cryptocurrency. He knew nothing about crypto at all except that Bitcoin existed. And just in crypto alone was able to do that. Furthermore, he's been able to expand and grow his portfolio. And now he tells me about stuff. And this is in a year, which is amazing. He knew about a lot of stuff pretty quick. Some of our other students have gotten into it, have known nothing, and have been able to make returns in a few weeks. One of our students, just based off of our lesson 1 homework, because there's a little bit of homework we give you, nothing too deep, stuff that takes you maybe 5 minutes. Lesson 1 homework, and she made 8% on a position the next week. It's just phenomenal. Again, I go back to this stuff is not hard. You just have to know what to look at. I often say it's as easy as Real Housewives or football. The markets are as easy as football or Real Housewives. It's just something else to pay attention to. If you know nothing about football and you sit in front of ESPN, you're going to be lost, right? If you sit in front of ESPN or Sky Sports for a full month, by the end of that month, you're going to know a lot about football. Same thing with Real Housewives. If you sit me down in front of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or OC or Atlanta, I'm going to be lost. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what they're talking about. If I watch for a couple of weeks, I'm going to know everybody's business. And you can probably sit me at a reunion, And that's just how it is with the markets too. It's just a different thing to learn and pay attention to. And this actually pays you.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And that's, if you're going to spend your time learning something or getting to know something, direct it in that way instead of Real Housewives. I love that analogy because I'm going, yeah, I probably don't have an excuse not to know crypto if I know the names of most of the OC housewives.
Hello. And all their business. Erica Jane on down. Yep. Come on.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, Uch, for coming on the show today. Really appreciate your time and sharing your knowledge with everyone listening.
I appreciate you having me, Shannon. I know we've been working on making this happen for some time. I appreciate your patience, and it's been a pleasure talking with you and your listeners.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll see you next time.